Welcome to episode 171 of Personal Development Mastery Podcast. Today is the second time I'm doing this kind of consolidating the knowledge episode that I spoke about in the previous podcasts. And again, in order to have some context, what I will say is that I have realized, after having spoken with over 100 people now in my podcast, that many of the things that were discussed and things that were actually actionable, implementable knowledge, the things like I would say that's something I can integrate into my own routine and into my life. However, I realized that many of those remained as thoughts and ideas. They never became actions. They were never implemented. And these consolidation episodes are about revisiting some of the previous episodes and picking specific ones and picking actionable items from each of them. So if it is something that you hear and it resonates, you can just pick it up and start doing it. And I will carry on this journey, because it's also a journey for me, revisiting all the previous episodes, and I will be sharing some specific actionable elements that one can take and implement. And today I will revisit episodes 7 and 8. And I will start with episode 8, which was my conversation with David Saville. David is a trainer, a coach, and a professional storyteller. And one of the things that we talked about with David was storytelling. And he defined storytelling as simply being able to communicate your view of the things that happen to you to another person in such a way that you communicate what it meant to you. And this way you can connect with the other person. And essentially he was saying that storytelling is connection. And it's not about using eloquent words either. It's about communicating the emotions in the story, what matters to you and why it matters to you in the story. And that is what it's all about, sharing how you feel. And he also said that storytelling is not about what we've done. It's about who we are. It's not about what I've done, it's about who I am. One more very, very interesting observation that David made was that if you don't control your stories by speaking to people, sharing who you are through your stories, if you don't do that, people will make their own stories about you anyway. So it's better if you control the story and get really good at telling the stories. Get really good at being a storyteller. Because this is something that we always do, tell stories. Some of the practical tips that David shared that we can do to improve our storytelling. One was sharing your emotion. And you can actually, it helps when you tell the story to feel that emotion that you are describing in the story. The second tool or thing we can do to improve storytelling is to share why we care, what it means to us within the story, what the story means to us. And the third thing is to go first. Don't wait for people to open and share their vulnerability first. Most people are waiting for someone to lead instead. And if you go straight in and share something honest and vulnerable, it's like you're opening your heart and sharing something that means something. And maybe it will not resonate to everyone. Some people will not resonate, but the people it will resonate with, you will click with them, with the right person or the right people. So again, reiterating, the first thing to do to become a better storyteller is to share the emotions behind what we feel about the story. The second is to share why we care about what it meant. And the third was to go first. One other thing that David discussed about is a very, very important topic, was listening deeply. And he spoke about the usual way that people listen to other people. And I will let David share the way that most people listen usually.
Because what active listening, at least in the people that I've spoken to about how they do active listening, is they're actually thinking and questioning and interrupting someone when they're listening, right? So most people are not good at listening because they're doing something inside. And if you're doing something inside, it's like people don't appreciate this, but if you're thinking out in your head, right, while someone is speaking, it's the same as if you had someone's loud voice in your ear whilst you're trying to listen to someone else in your other ear, right? Mm-hmm. That's essentially what most people are doing all the time when they're listening. They might be thinking about what they're going to say next. They might be thinking about what to ask. All of that is stopping you actually hearing the person. And so one of the most prevalent problems in society today is that people are not being heard because they're being interrupted.
And as for the way that David recommended listening, was to listen to the other person as no one else exists, as nothing else exists, as if what's being shared with you is the most important thing that you've ever heard. And have also a deep silence within yourself. If you notice yourself thinking, being distracted by thoughts, bring your attention back and focus it to what the person is sharing with you. Give your deepest attention to the person. And when you do that, there is a much bigger opportunity of connection, a deep connection with the other person. So we don't really need to think about what we will say. Something will emerge at the right time when we need to share it. And David also shared, and he called it an anti-sign. It's, when you feel an urgency that you need to say something and interrupt the other person, that is a sign that your ego is triggered by something and you are about to unnecessarily interrupt that person. If it's really that important, you will remember it and you will discuss about it later when the person is done. So always keep in mind that this sense of urgency to say something is a sign usually to not to do it. David gave me a very interesting answer when I asked him about what does personal development mean to him. So here it is.
It's like, you don't need to do anything, which personal development is about doing a lot of the time, right? You don't need to do anything, just one thing only, and that is to be deeply honest. Honest with yourself and honest with the people around you and the things you're doing. Because if you're deeply honest, guess what's going to happen? You can't hide or deceive yourself from what life is like, and you're going to feel that deeply. And through the feeling deeply, you're going to do things. You will know what to do. Even if you don't know what to do, you'll know to ask someone to help you know what to do, right? That's when you seek out coaches and mentors and trainers and stuff, right? If you're just deeply honest with yourself.
And I will conclude the first part of this episode with David Saville with his answer when I asked him what advice he would give his 20-year-old self.
Oh, it would be to take the risks. Do not get caught up doing anything anyone else tells you to do. Whatever you feel you want to do, go and do it. You're probably going to fail at it. Fail quickly. Fail big. Enjoy the failure, because you're going to fail in life. if you can start to own what failure is, which is truly a deep experience of life, where you get to find out who you are and what your failings are and what more you need to learn. Just fail as many times as you can towards something that matters to you.
And the second episode, which I will revisit today, is episode 7, Josh Tapp. Josh is a fellow podcaster running the successful show 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏. And we talked about podcasting, we talked about masterminding, the benefits, and when I met Josh and we had that conversation, we were both members of the Knowledge Broker Blueprint, the system by Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And there was this connection between both of us being knowledge brokers and podcasters, and also on a more sentimental note. Josh was the first person who interviewed me for their own podcast, so just as an observation. So in our conversation, we talked about podcasts a lot, and here is Josh saying something that if you ever considered doing a podcast yourself, you will find it very interesting.
So early on, I found podcasts, really realized how important they were for me, because it really helped me retain knowledge better. And so when I've always wanted to do one, when my mentor finally said, that's what you need to do, you need to start a podcast, I did it. And that was what paid out for us, because it was something I'm very passionate about, even coming on shows like this. And I'm a talker, obviously. So it's good to just kind of get on there and meet great people and have amazing conversations, make good friendships.
Another topic that Josh and me discussed was mastermind groups. And again, I will let him share his thoughts about the importance of being in a mastermind group.
A lot of people don't understand the value of it until you actually attend one. Yes. So the concept of a mastermind, it's really not very complicated, but for some reason it confuses people. But the point of getting together in a mastermind is you get anywhere from 5 to 25 people in a room discussing really what's working and what's not working in a certain area of their life. And your whole goal is to get feedback from other successful people or other people who are going through challenges like you. Mm-hmm. And that's the power of it. Is, the concept is, if you have one mind, you have one mind working on the concept. But if you have two people in a room, you actually have 3 minds. You have yours, you have the person you're working with, and then you have a third brain that gets created, which is called the mastermind. And it just becomes exponentially greater when you have about 10 people in a room.
Josh also gave me a great answer to my question of what advice he would give to his 18-year-old self. And he said that the number one thing he would advise would be to take risks, because there is so much preconception in many people about risk, that it's scary, that it's hard. But Josh said that for him, success is a matter of taking more risks. So if you fail, take 5 more risks and then you will succeed. So very interesting way that he put it. So these were my reflections and actionable items that I acquired from these 2 conversations. And again, I will share that the purpose of me doing these consolidation episodes on Thursdays will be to convert knowledge into action, which can lead to a transformation. I said it before, repetition is the mother of skill and execution is the ultimate power. It's not knowledge. So I hope you found this useful. I'm looking forward to your feedback, so you can go to my website 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗆 and send me a message through there with your feedback. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you have, please share this episode with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want more inspirational and actionable knowledge, join my Facebook group, Personal Development Mastery. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/PDM group. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.